Welcome to Spicy Toast Gaming. Thank you for tuning in to another Spicy Toast video. Today we're going to be covering all of the champions that have been added to Path of Champions, giving kind of a roundup of our thoughts on them, and predicting where we think they would go in a ranked tier list among all the other champions. So we've done a first impressions for all the champions, we did leveling videos for all of them, and then after that I have played all of them a couple more times in some different adventures, and so just thought I'd bring you what I'm thinking about them, how the champions are feeling. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So we're going to start off with Aatrox. Aatrox really surprised me. With him being a 6-cost Darkin, thought he was going to be rather slow. I thought he was going to play relatively similar to Kayn, but they really surprised me. So his star powers, also I'm not sure what is up with his icons. Every other champion's icons that are themed around them. These, I don't know what's going on with there. Anyways, so his 1-star, when equipped ally strikes, reduce the cost of a random card in hand by 1. That is a lot of fun, very different. The 3-star, while it is a doubling effect, this is going to have a much larger impact than normally just a straight doubling, because normally the straight doubling effects is it's just doubling your stats. But when you're actually reducing the cost of a card by 2, that means most of your deck is going to be free to play, which is going to be awesome. So if we take a look at his starting deck, all of his cards, like Furious Wielder, does get down to a 3 cost as well, because it gets a mana potion. So your entire deck is 3 cost or less, which means you just get 1 strike and most of your deck are going to get reduced down to the point where they're free. So that's going to be awesome. And then also with that extra strikes, you're going to be able to play Aatrox for very cheap. And then his World Ender card is going to get reduced down. So he's actually going to be a very fast champion, especially once you hit that 3-star power. But also his 2-star is really surprising. So game start, create in hand 2 random Darkin equipment. This is like the best version of this in the game. So we have a lot of different champions that have some way to generate equipment. And this is, the best one there is. So Ornn, garbage tier, play a unit or a equipment that costs 4 or more to summon an equipment. The 2 cards in his deck baseline is an improvised unit that costs 4 and an equipment that costs 5. So to get an equipment, you have to play a unit that already has an equipment. So you go from most of the early game to not having any equipment to then suddenly you have 2 pieces of equipment and you have to see which one you want to buff up. Really, really bad. Kayn, you have to kill an enemy unit and your unit has to survive. So a lot of work you have to put in just to get a random Darkin equipment. Vayne, before this it was the best. When you get the attack token, if you have less than 2 equipment, it gives you one. Okay, that's fine, but this, just game start, you don't have to think about it, just create 2 random Darkin equipment. You don't even have to worry. And the amazing thing about this is Aatrox with his passive World Ender, once you've played or summoned 3 different Darkins, draw Aatrox. The equipment, you can play them, just those 2 equipment you get, you don't need to worry about anything else. You can just play those and draw Aatrox. So even if you have bad luck, you're still going to draw him every game without really any issue. Because you can put an equipment on someone. If they die or if you equip them with the other equipment, you can then put that first equipment on someone else. And you can just bounce those 2 equipment back and forth and quickly summon Aatrox. So essentially guaranteed to get the champion. His star powers work very well. And his starting deck, pretty good. Keeper of the box. A lot of people thought this should have been in Kayn. Really should have. But Aatrox gets it right here. He got Sustain. Violent Discord. Later this gets Champion Horn on it. So this is going to happen twice because it gets copied once you're equipped, which is going to happen immediately. So you have some decent removal, but then also you're getting more champion draw. So Kayn is going to work out great, or not Kayn, Aatrox is going to work out great for his deck, but then even if you wanted to play him as a support deck, it would also be really, really good. His level ups from his champion levels work out really well. The deck feels very focused to play. And I think this is going to be probably a high A tier champion. And potentially, once we play with his 3-star power, I could really see him being in the S tier. I think he's very surprising and, yeah, quite strong. I'm really happy with the approach they went with Aatrox. Now, these are just predictions on where I think they're going to wind up. I haven't played them at, obviously, a very high level. I haven't gotten any of the 3 stars yet, so things will definitely change. But right now, I'm thinking Aatrox is probably going to be high A tier or potentially even S tier. Very excited and very happy with the direction they have gone. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Nasus. Before we do, though, I just want to show you a couple cards, and you'll see why shortly. So, Pyke Reaper, a nice 1-drop. When you slay a unit, grant me +1 power. Fearsome, looks very good. Looks like it would synergize quite well with a slay deck. You know, if there was any decks that needed that. Pyke Sandspinner, play, grant an enemy -1 power and vulnerable. Pyke Witherclaw, 5 cost, a little expensive. When an enemy is challenged, give it -2 power this round. And challenged works also with vulnerable. Rampaging Pyke. So, overwhelm, play, if you've slain 4+ units this game, an enemy and I strike each other. More slain synergy. All of these are all Shuriman cards, and they'd really, fit well with Nasus, I would think. All right, now let's go take a look at Nasus and what cards he actually has. Taking a look now at Nasus, his actual support deck. So for the 1-drop, we have Bloodthirsty Marauder. I do not understand why this is here. This is a Renekton support card. Why is this in Nasus's deck when we have another 1-drop that actually focuses on the slay mechanic? Don't understand why this is here. Rockhopper. This is the exact card with the item in Talia's deck. Like, yes, the vulnerable is nice, but again, this is the exact card we already have in another deck with the same item and everything. Okay, so that's a bit weird. Xenotype Researchers. Okay, you're buffing up your deck, but there's no slay synergy, and it's just kind of a random addition. We do have the Sand Spinner, so that's great. We got one of the Pyke in there. Fantastic. But then we have Ruin Runner. Why the hell is this here? We have a 5-cost unit that's a Pyke that deals with the slay mechanic. We have a perfect card to replace this and the Bloodthirsty Marauder. Why are these cards here? They don't fit in this deck, especially we have cards that cost the exact same, but actually fit with Nasus, his theme perfectly, and his also playstyle of Slay. So, I could excuse maybe the Rockhopper, maybe the Researchers, even though they're not really synergizing too well, but then why the hell is the Marauder and the Ruin Runner here? It doesn't fit the deck at all, and I think that's the biggest problem with Nasus, is his deck is pretty bad. Now, his star powers in Nasus himself are great. So, Boon of the Ascended, round end, grant your strongest ally 1/1 this game for each unit you've slain this round. So this can stack up very well. Works great with Nasus. This 3-star version, you get 2/2 for each unit you've slain this round to your strongest ally. And then once you've slain 10+ units, you summon the Restored Sun Disk. So this is how you get Nasus to his rank 3 version. So his star powers are awesome. The 2-star, +1 starting mana, round start, grant your strongest enemy -1 power. That works well. Nasus kind of has a slight theme around fearsome and also just reducing enemies' power. So the fact that every round you're just reducing enemies' power, that's great. The star powers, wonderful. Nasus himself, I love the Nasus card. I just really hate his deck. I don't, like, there's some cards that work really well and really fit the theme, but there's not many. So I don't understand why they put this deck together. It seems like the worst made deck, and like no thought was put into it. I would think that you would try to go with the cards actually themed around the champion and were added to the game with the champion to support the champion. But there's, yeah, a lot of choices in here which I just don't get, especially when you have the exact same cost card that would work perfectly with Nasus. This seems like no thought or care was put into this, which is really surprising because you look at some of the other decks, like we're going to get into LeBlanc soon. Her deck is amazing. Like, it looks like actually thought and care was put into it and actually adding units that make sense, that really help her playstyle. Whereas this, it's like, did no one really go over this or think through this? It's a really issue with Nasus. I really hate his deck. There's some cards in here that I like Quicksand. This is amazing, a wonderful card. It's great. I'm glad Siphoning Strike is in here. Fun to play with, that's great. Exhaust works pretty well. This is also kind of a Renekton card, but it works for Nasus too. And then Sand Spinner works well, but then just like half the cards just don't make sense. So Nasus has some really issues. He has great star powers, Nasus himself, tons of fun. His deck, though, really lacking synergy. It's not working together very well. It seems like it's kind of going in a couple different directions. And yeah, I think it's really a problem. He'll probably end up, I would say, either in the C tier or like bottom of B tier probably. Yeah. I'm not overly happy, and I heard people say that his 3-star power is currently bugged, so the restored Sun Disc isn't working to level up Nasus. So it's sad. I would say, like, oh, hopefully they'll change him, but they haven't touched Ornn. They haven't done any balance tuning to anything in this game mode, which, like, no, we don't want anything nerfed, but if something's clearly not working or came out poorly designed, I would wish that they would look at the feedback for the community and actually adjust some things to make the champion, help bring them up to the level of some others. So Nasus, he is a lot of fun, but yeah, he has some serious issues. I would say he's probably going to be like C tier or like bottom of B tier. Disappointing. On a bit of a happier note, let's get into probably the undeniable best champion, or most powerful champion, I'll say, that was added this expansion. So, LeBlanc. Really excited about the direction they went with her. She's a lot of fun. So, rank 1, star power, round start, create a fleeting sharpened resolve in hand. It costs 1 less. 2-star, +1 starting mana. If you've leveled a champion this game, when allies attack, summon a attacking LeBlanc. This, I think, is probably the most powerful 2-star in the game. And it's absolutely amazing. The LeBlanc that you're summoning also has all the items you have on LeBlanc. So there's a lot of crazy things that you should be able to do with this, like trying to get the item on LeBlanc so that when she dies, you rally. So you can attack. The ephemeral LeBlanc will die every time, so you just can rally over and over again and just keep attacking. But in general, it's just massively powerful. LeBlanc is probably the easiest champion to level in the game. Even my first game, the first time I attacked with her, immediately leveled up. So yeah, pretty much the first time you attack with LeBlanc, you're going to level her up. So then every attack after that, you're always going to have this ephemeral attacking LeBlanc. Really strong. The 3-star just makes your sharpen resolve go to a 0 cost. So being able to generate this every round, especially when you get this for free, give an ally 3/2. So using this combat trick every round is going to swing fights in your favor. You're going to be able to save your units and make sure you kill the enemy. But it also has another important aspect. So it's giving you 3 power. If we take a look at her starting deck, all of her cards are able to hit that 5 power threshold. And that 5 power threshold is really important because of her 2 spells. Well, I guess 2 of her 3 spells. They both have reputation. reputation. If allies have struck for 5 or more damage at least 4 times this game, they cost 2 less. So being able to use that spell you're generating every round to make sure you're hitting that 5 cost threshold means you're going to activate your reputation very fast. So this, it then goes to a 2 cost draw 3, so insane amount of draw. Bloody Business, this goes down to a 1 cost, an ally with 5+ power strikes an enemy. So again, you're going to be able to hit that 5 power threshold very easily, even if it's just temporary with that card that you're generating. So crazy removal. Your Blade Edge with champion level ups goes to a 3 power. And that's another thing. Her champion level ups, every single item essentially that gets added is amazing. Like a lot of champions, you're getting items and a lot of the times it just feels kind of meh, not really. Like it's sure it's helpful, but it's not like it really is helping that much. Here, just look at the ones I already have. So Whispered Words. This card already draws 2. It gives you 1 more draw. It's already focusing on what you want the card to do. Bloody Business, giving you a cheaper way of dealing a out-of-combat strike. Very powerful. Blade's Edge, kind of bad right now, but this is going to go to a 3 damage 1 cost. Like that's going to be crazy. And this is damage to anything. You can use this on the Nexus if you want. And then with this, if you get the common power of generating a Blade's Edge every round, when it's already going to be doing 3 damage, it's going to be insane. Thrashing Snapper. When an enemy blocks me, give me 3 this power, going up to 5. It gave you Challenger, so you can always make sure that you're having a blocker. Like Legion Drummer, Quick Attack, and then give my supported ally Quick Attack. So it's a very powerful combo of using this, and then you can use Thrashing Snapper. They're both going to have Quick Attack, be able to hit very powerful. Like, this is like the best designed deck with the best synergy we've really seen, or at least in this expansion. Like, Gwen is also a very powerful, well-made deck where all of the cards really work together, but this is just a beautiful deck. Everything's working well. The champion level ups are all giving you really good items that dramatically help you. It's not just like, oh, that's fine, I guess. Like, no, these help you a lot. Very well made. The star powers, while pretty simple, have a massive impact. And she's definitely going to be S tier, and it's really just sad to see how well and awesome this deck is and champion is, and then you go look at Nasus and you're like, what the hell is this? Who designed this? Why is this here? Like, you have cards that just don't make sense in that deck. Whereas here, everything is working out super well together, and you're happy to see it. So, really happy with LeBlanc. Definitely going to be in the S tier. She is already incredibly powerful. Really looking forward to what crazy things you can do with her at 3 stars. And Diana and Jax better watch themselves, because LeBlanc is coming and potentially is going to dethrone them for like the best, most aggro champion in the game. So LeBlanc's amazing. Really happy with the direction they went with her. And yeah, definitely S tier. Next, let's take a look at Kindred. So again, I only have her at the 1 star, but I think I have a pretty good understanding of how the 2-star will be able to help you out. So star powers, round start, create a prey. If you already have one, instead grant your prey last breath, deal 1 to the enemy Nexus. This is actually pretty good once you're playing with it in game. Quite nice to always have a unit you can either sacrifice as a blocker or as fodder for one of your kill spells. So a lot of your units have to kill an ally, or your spells have to kill an ally, so having someone that you always can use for that, very good, very helpful with Kindred and the way she marks targets. 2-star, round start, create a Spirit Journey, so 5 cost, kill a unit, then revive it. In hand, if you already have one, reduce its cost by 2. So this is going to be very nice. Again, letting you be able to either kill one of your own units to save them, or kill them to trigger your slay effect and mark an enemy. or kill an enemy to deny them getting a buff from some sort of spell, or kill them in order to stop their attack. A lot of different ways you can use this, which is what I love. I love champions that have very intricate kits and many different ways to use them, a lot of different tools at their disposal, and Kindred really feels like that type of champion. So I don't think she's going to be too strong, definitely not like S tier, but I do think she's going to be a fun time and probably have a very high skill ceiling. The 3-star increases the damage of the last breath effect to 2. And also that's nice, giving you just a bit of damage. Also, one thing you can do is if you have multiple prey, you have multiple of this card, they will all be getting the stacking buff. So you can summon multiples of these, having them all get stacked up, and then using them to destroy the enemy Nexus. Can actually do a surprising amount of damage. But if we take a look at the deck, a lot of very good cards in here and great items. So already, Wings and the Wave. So this costs 0, so you can always play this, and then you have the option of either playing this card, so 0 power, 1 health, when I'm summoned, summon a prey. So another way to either have a card that you can use as fodder for your spells, just a kill target, or you can just use them as a blocker if you want, and they'll summon another prey. Or you can play it as the Last Wind, and these will both cost 0. Play me, kill an ally, so 3/3 for a 0 cost, pretty good. And you always are going to have that prey that you can kill at the start of the round if you need to. Very nice, the fact that this costs 0. That means you can play Kindred as soon as possible, and then you can still play your Wings and the Wave in order to trigger that Slay effect and mark an enemy. So, pretty nice. Fading Icon, this summons another prey, very, very good. Mask Mother is a card where you're killing your own unit to grant all of its stats and keywords. Spirit Leech, kill an ally to draw 2. So you have a lot of cards that are killing your own units, and then Black Spear, if an ally died this round, deal 4 to an enemy. Crumble, kill an ally to kill a unit or landmark. So you can spend 4 mana to kill your prey and then destroy anything on the enemy side. So if they have a really powerful unit, it doesn't matter, you can just use this to kill them. Also with Kindred, her mark doesn't care how many stats the unit has, it will kill them. So there's really interesting ways you can use Kindred and her kit to take care of high enemy threats that normally you would really struggle with killing. So a lot of very powerful cards in here. Tortured Prodigy, when an ally dies, refill your spell mana. The entire deck is very well made. So this is another one of the decks here that have been added to the game where it all is working together quite well. Everything is either generating prey or is working on being able to kill it or benefit from that unit dying. So very well made deck. You have just options for almost every situation, it feels like. There's a lot of decks like Yumi, and even to some regard like Kayn or Kaisa, where you don't have good ways to protect your units, and you don't have good ways to just deal with enemy threats. Whereas with Kindred, it feels like you have a lot of different options for what you can do, which is very, very nice. I also like decks where you're fine with your own units dying, especially your followers. And this just, again, is really a contrast of, we have this deck, which is very well made, seems like a lot of thought went into this to make it actually synergize quite well. The items that you're getting from champion level ups all are very impactful. And then again, you take a look at Nasus, and it looks like no one put any thought into designing it at all. So we really have some standout decks that look like they're very well made. And then, yeah, there's some other ones you're just like, what's going on here? So Kindred's going to have a very unique and interesting playstyle, and I really like it. That being said, I don't think it's going to be nearly as crazy as any of the S tier. Probably not even in the A tier, we'll see. I think Kindred is a solid B tier champion. going to have a very interesting playstyle, so I'm really going to like it, but it's probably going to be in the B tier. Maybe it can hit the A tier, but that's probably the highest it can go. Really well-made deck, though, and I'm really looking forward to playing them more, especially once I get more star powers. Up next, let's take a look at Ekko. So I only have him at a 1-star power, so my opinions might change. That being said, on a couple of games I essentially had his 2-star power. So when you see a unit in a predict, granted 1/1, this is 1 star, his 2-star, plus 1 starting mana, your created cards cost 1 less. So this is the exact same thing as Wild Inspiration, a common power that you can get. And yeah, I got that one of the matches, so I essentially was able to play and test out 2-star Ekko. His 3-star is when you see a unit in a predict, grant it 2/2. So focusing on that prediction, it's sad that his 2-star doesn't really have any predict synergy. That's kind of annoying. And then also it loses some of its bonus because with Ekko, when he strikes, you create a fleeting time trick in hand. Now with his 2-star, that fleeting time trick here will go down to 1 cost. Oh, that's great. But then once he levels up, it creates a 0 mana time trick. So your 2nd star power just lost a lot of its bonuses or synergy or benefits. Now once you predict 4 times, I create 3 Chrono Breaks in hand, which over here, very powerful card. This will go down by 1 based on his 2-star power. And then here, create a Parallel Convergence, so you do have a lot of created cards. It is just sad, though, how it's not that much of a benefit. Like, it's definitely helpful, but you just gave him a literal common power. Like, it has the same wording and everything. I wish they'd at least make this your created cards cost like 2 less, something that feel more impactful than the exact same thing as a common power, or just come up with something a little bit more interesting, something that actually has some predict synergy. So relatively disappointing. And then if we take a look at his starting deck, we have Time Trick. Nice that this is in here, since then you can also get bonuses from the Time Trick Ekko is creating. So any items that get added to this through your champion level ups will also help. But then you have Practical Perfectionist. So predict, create 3 copies of your chosen card. So since you're making created cards, it is helping you with your 2-star power. So this is a predict, and Time Trick is a predict. That's the only predict you have in your entire deck. So starting out in the game, it's going to actually not be too beneficial, or you're not going to be able to predict too much unless you get Ekko on the board and you start getting your strikes off, but that's not happening until 4 mana. So you're really not going to get too many predicts in the early game. He can scale really crazy because you can often get predict on a lot of different cards. Quite often I've gotten predict on my Time Trick, so you're predicting twice. So there are ways you can definitely start cheesing things where you're able to predict a lot, but at the start of the game, you only have 2 ways to predict. One costs 3 mana. The other one, costing 2, is nice, but there's really not too many options available. Some of his level ups are pretty good, so giving your drop border a pickaxe, so it's a 1 cost 3/3, and you're normally not even paying that 1 cost because you can see it predict. Fallen Feline, gain studded leather, nice. Practical Perfectionist, getting the Philosopher's Stone, that's pretty good because now you're predicting, and by default she doesn't draw, but now you'll actually predict and then actually be able to draw that card. Getting the Aeronaut down to a 2 cost with Ancient Coin is pretty good, and then Time Trick getting Hand Sensor, buffing the card. So he does have good level ups, but his star powers are somewhat just fine. Like, I was hoping for better, to be honest. Really wasn't too impressed. That this looked like someone took 2 seconds to try to design something. Like, the star powers looks like they put very little effort into trying to make something unique or interesting. So, somewhat disappointing. I do think there will be some interesting things you can do with him, though. Like, your created cards cost 1 less. So if you get the Blade's Edge power, where it creates 1 every round that normally costs 1, now you'll be able to play that for free every round. If you also want to get like the Time and Dedication one that's making 1 of those every round, normally costs 1, now it's going to be free. I think there's going to be a lot of very interesting things you can do with Ekko. So he's very different. You'll have a lot of fun with him probably once you get him starred up. But I think you'll also probably somewhat join Nasus in like a C tier or B tier champion. He's not going to be a contender for one of the best champions, I don't think, in any sense. But he is very different, it is an important aspect for every champion, kind of the most important. You want them to feel different and unique and have a fun play style. Ekko with that predict is giving it to you. I wish the star powers were a bit better. He's kind of the opposite of Nasus, where Ekko's deck, especially with the items you're getting, are actually pretty good. The items actually are helping you out a good amount. Not too much of ways of predicting, though, without Ekko himself. But he has star powers that aren't the best, whereas Nasus has pretty awesome star powers, but a weak deck. So yeah, I'd probably say high C tier, probably bottom of B tier, most likely. All right, last and definitely least, at least in some people's opinions. So we have Pyke. So Pyke is a lurk deck. He used to be in Path of Champions, and he's going to be a lot of fun because he has a very awesome combo when he can pull it off, but his star powers are right now leaving a bit to be desired. So game start, grant Mariner's Ruse to 2 random allies. When you get the attack token, grant it to 1 more, draw 1. So this is something, the Mariner's Ruse gives your unit 1/1 and lurk. So you're going to be stacking this up on your units throughout the entire game. You're going to be trying to focus on getting the attack token, so you can get this happening more. And then the draw 1, getting that extra draw, is nice. When this is at your 3-star, it goes to 4 random allies and then grant it to 2 more, I believe. The 2-star, this one is a bit mixed. So when an ally dies, create a random lurker that costs 1 more in your deck, granted 1/1. So this is interesting as it's then giving you more and more powerful units, both with them getting the 1/1 and then costing more. It is well, I haven't played it yet, so we'll have to see how this works in game, but this could have some issues. So it's constantly making more units in your deck. Mariner's Ruse, you're trying to give these buff to random allies. So it's a little unfortunate that it's then generating more units that are going to be fighting for the Mariner's Ruse instead of you just stacking these items on your smaller, more refined deck. So it could cause some issues there. And then also the fact of, often in Path of Champions games, you're trying to get certain cards really buffed up with a lot of items. But it's going to then be adding cards to your deck that it's going to be a random lurker, so it has a chance of giving you a card that you already have with those items on it. But it's also very likely of giving you a random lurker card that you don't have, doesn't have any items, and is not really going to help you. Now, that being said, with it putting more lurkers in your deck, that means you have a higher chance of always lurking every single round and not needing to worry about that. This one is going to be a toss-up, like with the last person, Kindred. I could really tell while playing how the 2-star would help out and where it would be used. This is a very interesting 2-star power. I'm glad they took it in an interesting direction and not just gave us a common power, like your created cards cost 1 less. But this will be interesting. It could actually potentially hurt you in some situations. Definitely going to be interesting to see. Also with the Mariner's Ruse, giving it to random allies, Pyke is going to be a very RNG champion. So already you're going to have the chance of when you attack, are you going to have a lurker there that is going to give you the buff or not? Because I've had some games where it's like near the end of the game and I've got lurk off like once because I've had really bad luck. I didn't have any of the cards to put a lurker on the top of my deck. So some games you're going to really struggle there. And then your Mariner's Ruse, with it being on random allies, it might just put all of it on one card, or it might actually be able to spread it out. It might never hit your units that aren't lurkers. It's going to be interesting. You're really going to have some very amazing games with Pyke, and then you're going to have some not so great ones. His starting deck is actually pretty well done. Most of your cards are all lurkers. You do have the Petty Officer, which is a fine card, and you have a decent chance of getting the lurkers on him. Under Titan, fine. This will probably help out when you're more scaled up, higher level, and have your 3 stars. So the deck seems relatively well made. You have decent ways of removal, and also good ways to get free attacks in, and put lurkers on the top of your deck so you can get that more consistent buff going. So the deck seems fine. The star powers are interesting. He's definitely the one that I'm the least comfortable ranking, because I feel like you can have some really crazy games and then you might have some pretty bad games. So we'll have to see. I feel like he'll probably be in the B tier, I would guess. I think he'll be a fun, interesting deck. I'm glad we have Lurk back, or Lurk deck back. Pyke himself, tons of fun with being able to get those full board wipes pretty consistently. Probably in the B tier, possibly A. We'll really have to see how his star powers synergize together, because this is a interesting one. Definitely comment down below if you have Pyke at 2 stars and what you think of it. But that's pretty much it for Pyke. Rounding up, just looking at all the champions, it is pretty interesting how we have some, like LeBlanc and Kindred, also like Aatrox, where their decks all seem really well made, and they fit their core theme. Now obviously Aatrox and LeBlanc are much more powerful. Kindred, not crazy strong, but at least her whole deck is synergized together. Then we have ones like Nasus, where his whole deck, you're wondering what is it doing. It's really not working together too well. Then you have some other ones like Ekko, where it's like the star powers really not too amazing. Like, they're fine, but they're not interesting. They're relatively boring. So, bit of a mixed bag with the champions. I do think they all will be decently strong. There's nothing that are absolutely awful. Like, even Nasus, I love his star powers. Nasus himself is a lot of fun. It's just some of the elements of his deck. Pyke, we really have to see. Most people believe he's a weaker version of his previous iteration, but we'll have to see once he gets higher up there. But this is my predictions for the champion and kind of my final thoughts after playing them all for a little bit. I'm sure my thoughts will change as I spend more time with them. I'm now going to work on grinding them all up to level 20 and start getting those guides out for you. Let me know down below what you think of the champions, what you think of the patch in general. Hope you guys have a great day, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching that video all the way to the end. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. We're putting out multiple videos every single day for Path of Champions content. So if that interests you, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and welcome to the channel. Have a great day.